are monitoring right now. Have the computer monitoring voltage. Gonna graph this sucker. I drained the battery down to 2.9 volts, and it bounced right back, and that's just constant current discharge, and it bounced back up to 3.254. Pretty much took out the 12 amp hours that we put in from before. So we're going to run this up to 3.5 volts at the let's see how many amp hours go in. This is constant current, 45 amps, 5 volts from the source. It is the mega pack, and it is modulated power, so power factor correction, all that stuff. And so without further ado, we fire this little puppy up. And see, we're immediately running up to 3.4 volts. Got a section over here, voltage versus time. We're going to see what kind of curve we get out of this. We're not even at 1 amp hour yet. 3.4 volts and rising. Time frame wise, here, let's see. Put my iPhone on. Stopwatch. So we just now started at 0, so we shall see. So you can see the timer at the same time going off. So you can see we're already at 3.5 volts, which is what I wanted to do my cutoff. But as you can see, I'm not going to, because we have 1 amp hour in this puppy. So I'm thinking the power factor corrected current is just keeping it at, just jamming it in voltage wise, 45 amps. So this is better than a 2C charge on this cell here. Considered a 20 amp hour cell, which it really isn't. We're getting a fairly steep graph. It's slope. It's starting to hold 3.5 volts here. Now a minute 18 seconds into the charge. There is no visible issues with the pack. Terminals are cool to the touch. At this current rate going in, so we'll show you the amperes. So that's the amp hours going in, and we're going to go to time, amps, and volts. So the upper voltmeter is more accurate, so that's what we use. So 3.534. My graph is holding fairly steady. Kind of peaked up to that high volt real quick. Not sure why we're running at the higher voltage. So we're just going to see at what point this voltage starts to peak on the graph and at what time frame. So this is a fast paint dry, 3 minutes, just about 3 minutes into this thing. On election night, Obama won. Not 100% official, but pretty much, and that's okay. So now it's time to move forward and keep making these electric cars and make a change in this country. So anyway, there's my political rant. So 3.54354. So this higher voltage is where it's actually going to be. So we're 3.5. If I was running this kind of current, I'd already be in voltage holding mode and then let that current slowly taper down. So it would be in current mode rather than volt mode. So I'm actually going to go in volt mode. And so this is, guys, constant current. I am not holding the voltage, and that's not the intention. The intention is not to hold the voltage. Want to see what it holds, what it goes to, and where it peaks when we're running constant current. So when it starts to peak up on the graph, that's where I want to shut it off and see how many amp hours I have in it. But I also want to do it without overheating the cell itself. And since it's a really thin container, you can feel heat if there's any heat coming off. So that's the issue. So I'm not much of an expert on electrical matters, but I've got things to work, and I can test, and I can graph, and I can show, and anyway, here's a Vicor power module sitting behind here, or up here. This is what the power modules look like. It's got a heat sink on it. It's got positive, negative, and it's got a control board on it. You can actually use pinouts on the back of the big guy back here to control each module to turn it on and off if you need to. Or you can just shut the whole thing down. So I've got it set up just to turn on and off the one module. And you can also use this as a DC-DC converter. And because you can shut the single modules off, you can have these voltmeters control that as well. So there's my phone. So we're 6 minutes into this, 5 amp hours, 5.7 amp hours, 3.568 volts, holding very steady, holding very well, still in a safe zone. So we shall see at what point this voltage starts to spike and how many amp hours we get before it does. And to me, that'll tell me where I need to stop my constant voltage, or stop my constant current and go to holding voltage until the current drops. So that's how I'm going to pick what voltage I'm going to run my cell to. It'll be less than what I actually show because I want to go back down into a safe mode. The issue is to make sure there's no swelling, puffing, or anything of the battery during this. And at this point there is none. 8 amp hours here pretty soon, or excuse me, 7 amp hours here pretty quick. 8 minutes in. And, fairly constant, fairly good rise. The graph is doing pretty good. Same as what, same shape of graph as what Jack had, except ours starts going up a little bit quicker. It's not quite as flat as the CA cell, but I'm also running a little 20 amp hour cell. So we shall see. Okay, we're at 3.6. 8 amp hours, almost 10, just about 10 minutes now into this charge at over 2C. And looks like we're starting to get a little faster rise in the voltage at this point. So that's only 8 amp hours, 8 and 8, and half full. And it's starting to go up the knee a little bit. So I'm going to swing this over to graph on the computer. So you can see the shape of the graph there on the computer. It is at 3.64 volts, 9.2 amp hours. Minutes into this thing. Pouch cell still looking good. And we're going to stop this here. Stopping that there. So clearly 12 minutes in, 10 amp hours. 3.7 volts. Noticed very slight, ever so slight gas. So there's the graph. It's monitoring and going back down in voltage to 3.3. So constant current 3.7 on these little A123 cells. You can't see it here, but there was a very slight a very slight puffing of the cell, and it was not even hot. So that's an important thing to note. It was not hot. So we were not too terribly far into this at that point. And so just wanted to let you guys in on that this particular type of power. Still haven't figured out these little switches for the meters yet to turn it on or off, on and off, on and off, on and off, to make it kind of like a constant voltage. So we'll drop down and up, and up, and up, and up. So that's so anyway, constant current is a no-no on the pouch cells, probably a no-no on any of the cells up past a certain point. And I can tell you, so now I have a cell that's got a little gas in it, and it was a nice tight cell. As you can see, just barely. You can see it, feel it. Not even hot. That's the big distinction. It's not hot. So once again, the graph was 3.7 volts. I think that's what it went to. 3.69, 3.7. Graph is saying 369. So that's where that's at there. And so we're gonna stop this, and we're gonna call it a the fast charge constant current is not what you want to do. You want to use the constant current, constant voltage. You're going to go up to a certain point. With these A123s anyway, they do not like that fast high current put into them. And so I don't know what to say on the other ones. But this one sure as heck didn't like that. And it will not recover. That gas will stay forever and ever in that pouch. So that's it for now, and we'll come on back later.